What's going on, guys? Rodent 44 here at the Talkeetna Airport in Talkeetna, Alaska. And we are flying today the GotGravel. Oh, getting a little squirrel on the brakes there. The GotGravel Monster Cub. Well, we're flying it today because he just released a brand new update on it, and I wanted to check it out. Now we're going to depart Talkeetna here, and then I'll kind of go over what we're going to be taking a look at today. It's clear all around, no traffic out there today. Winds are calm, almost straight down the pipe. And we've already got our run up out of the way. Mixture's full rich, prop is full forward, and we are ready for departure. Talkeetna traffic, Cub 4826 Delta, taking runway 19 for departure, Talkeetna. We're going to go ahead and get a climb going here. Turn crosswind to downwind. And Talkeetna traffic, Cub 4826 Delta is left downwind, runway 19, Talkeetna. Or sorry, excuse me, right downwind. And we're pretty much just going to do a straight out departure from the downwind here at Talkeetna. And Talkeetna traffic, Cub 4826 Delta is departing the pattern to the north. Last call, Talkeetna. Alright, well, how's it been going, guys? It's been quite a while since I've done just a flying video. I know the last two videos have really been tutorial videos, and, you know, I haven't really done prior to that, a lot of just straight flying videos. And, well, this one's a little bit of a hybrid. So we're flying up here north of Talkeetna, Alaska right now, and I want to show you guys basically why I haven't been doing a lot of flying videos. And I think this will be well worth it. So, yeah, up here just north of Talkeetna, as some of you may know, along with doing videos here, my primary focus in the flight simulation space is scenery development. So I do airports, and I basically specialize in doing backcountry airports, or have kind of worked my way into that space. It started off with tropical island airports, now it's backcountry airports. But you know what? I love backcountry, so it's all worth it for me. So we're snaking up the Chunilna Creek, or yeah, Chunilna Creek. It's not a river, it's considered a creek. So this is Chunilna Creek here. It runs quite a ways up north. And I did a scenery originally for FSX and P3D. It was called Shump and Chunilna Creek. Or, yeah, Shump and Chunilna Creek, I think is what I called it. And the one airport, Shump, is actually a registered airport, and the other one is a non-registered airport that I called Chunilna Creek because it was right along this creek. Well, as it so may happen, I found another airstrip that I wanted to do for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and it also runs along this creek. So I cannot find any information on this as far as who the owner is. I looked at basically DNR land records, and I cannot find a name matching up to anybody. There are names on the DNR records, but yeah, like I said, I can't find any link to that airstrip, basically. So I've named this one Chunilna Cabin Strip because it's got a cabin on it. And yeah, so that's what this airport's called, is Chunilna Cabin Strip. As we're snaking up to the river, or up the creek here, we'll be coming up to the airport. And we're going to land this thing here. And we're going to show you around and show you kind of the progress that we've been making on this airstrip. Now, before we get too much more involved in this video here, I do want to say, yes, this is going to be a payware product. No, I am not going to be charging you out the ass for it. Like some developers, not pointing any fingers. But yeah, I'm actually taking my time and trying to make this worth more than what I'm going to be asking for it. So hopefully there will be some level of appreciation for that. But as we get up here, we need to start slowing down, and we can see the airstrip right here off of our right hand side. And I will have to apologize with these clouds I have loaded in. Sometimes I do get a little bit of a FPS spike as I'm coming into this airport. It's also not fully optimized, as obviously I'm still working on it. But yeah, most of the time I'm still getting 60 FPS at least here. But like I said, there is that one odd spike here and there. Oh, and yes, ignore the train spikes in the background. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. Alright. So this airstrip, if my memory serves me right, is about 700 or 720 feet long, with about 680 feet, I believe, usable. So it is perfectly acceptable for Cub operations, as well as up to basically 170s. I have also gotten the Baron into and out of the strip. Out of it does quite easily, and into, well, you see that tree right there? Let's just say the nose likes to live in that tree on landing. But yeah, maybe one day I'll get my technique right and get it stopped before that tree. But as we taxi down the parking here, you'll notice that we got quite a bit going on in this airstrip. All the trees are completely 3D. There's also custom vegetation and brush/shrubs along the side of the runway. The ground textures are completely custom, as this airport did not have any Bing satellite imagery to start with. It does, it's just the Bing satellite imagery was taken before this airport was, or this runway was developed in real life. So it's just trees here if you fly over it, as it is right now in default Microsoft Flight Simulator. So yeah, let's get spun around here in the parking next to the fuel drums. We'll get our parking brake on because we're on a little bit of a downhill slope here. And we'll get power off. Avionics. We'll pull the mixture and get the prop back. Alright, we have arrived. So yeah, without further ado, let's hop out and let's take a closer look around this airport. Alright, and we'll start off right here at the parking spot. So this is just a little bit of a pull-off area here at the end of the runway. Now, I have developed this airport to be as true to life as possible. And as I'm panning out here, I'll show you some photographs I have of the airport. So these were taken, I believe these were taken, were these April of last year? They were sometime like mid last year, 2021. So somehow, I do not remember how this came about, but somehow on Discord I got connected to a guy that was working at the Talkeetna airport on the ramp at the time. And he had offered to take some pictures of Talkeetna because I have my freeware Talkeetna scenery, which is a light rendition. And I wanted to redo the airport, so he's like, yeah, I'll take some photos of that for you. So I got some photos of Talkeetna from him, and then he asked me, well, I'm going flying today. Is there anything that you want me to take photos of or get aerials of while I'm out and about? And I said, well, I've been thinking about doing this one airstrip to the north of Talkeetna. So maybe you can fly out there and just take a look, do a low pass, see if you can get some pictures of the runway and the cabin. That way I can get a better idea of what this airstrip looks like. He's like, sure, no problem. So yeah, these are the photos I've had to work with that you've been seeing across the screen here. They are taken with iPhone, and the compression settings are a little high, so there's quite a bit of artifacting in there. Unfortunately, I cannot see a lot of detail like on the cabin and around the cabin, but I can make out enough detail, and through AI reconstruction of the photos, I can make out enough detail to kind of get a general idea of what the buildings or the cabin looks like and what the objects around the cabin, other structures, might have been. So as we pan over here, this cabin has been modeled as close to what I can find in the photographs as possible. Now, I know for certain that there are 2 big windows on the front. I know it's got a deck. I know the steps are offset like this. And I had to do a little bit of assumption that there's a door on the left-hand side here. But I would say that I'm about 90% confident that that was actually there. There's just a little bit of a tree or something in the way. But it would make sense that you would have a deck and then you'd have a door up on the side of the cabin. And I had clear line of sight of the right-hand side of the cabin. There obviously wasn't a door there. So, process elimination, we stick a door on the left-hand side. So, let's take a look at the cabin model here. Now, this cabin, I guess I should preface this by saying that coming from FSX and P3D, I did most of my 3D modeling in SketchUp. And now I am going basically full Blender and Substance Painter to do my PBR materials. So this cabin is a little bit of a hybrid. The base model was done in SketchUp. However, it was later brought into Blender, where I have refined it, added more fine details to it. Such as, yes, we have a 3D doorknob. And yes, it was 100% worth doing. So, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I've been painting 2D doorknobs for a long time, and yeah, there's just something liberating about doing a 3D doorknob finally, and finally having the overhead to not have to worry about adding a couple extra polys to your models. But yes, this cabin is 100% painted in PBR textures with Substance Painter. This chimney is a very overhauled model based on a real-world design that I had made in Blender. So basically I had already had the chimney on here in SketchUp, but I went ahead and went through and completely redid the cap of this in 3D in Blender. Then of course it's all nicely painted in Substance. Got nice metallic reflective textures on it. And it's kind of hard to see with the lighting right now, but there is a little bit of soot on the inside, kind of moving out towards the outer walls. I tried to make it look, used. And then it is hollow on the inside, so you get a nice, ambient occlusion going down the pipe. Which, it's little details that you're probably not ever going to notice unless you're looking down the freaking chimney, but it was worth it to do it. It felt wrong not to do it. Then you may notice the windows are looking a little dark right now. They do have standard MSFS glass material on them, which we can see if we kind of make our direction like this. I have not decided what I want to do with the windows yet. I'm bouncing between doing a 2D texture like blinds or something behind the glass material and not worrying about an interior. I'm also thinking about maybe trying to do parallax textures, so you kind of have that faked 3D interior. Or, you know, worst case scenario, we may just 3D model the inside. But, you know, as much as I'd like a 3D modeled interior, it's a lot of extra work. It would probably add, you know, a week, 2 weeks onto the project just to get it right. Because one, I don't even know what I would do with the interior right now. I don't really have an interior design in mind. Obviously, I don't have any photos of it. And, you know, it would be a fairly basic interior anyways. I'd have to create all, you know, low poly assets for it. So, you know, we'd be adding time onto the project. And then you got to think about the performance and memory overhead that has with it, or that brings with it as well. So, yeah. But we should probably move on here. Leading up to the cabin, I have some stones I created here for fun. Just some pavers. So there's always that. Some, you know, kind of useless details. We have some junk shoved up underneath the cabin. Felt like that would be a good spot to put it. And then, well, we got the solar panel over here. I'm not quite sure if this is going to stay or if it's going to go. I think this is, since I got a power box on the side here of the cabin, I believe we're going to keep solar panels in here. And yes, I did put writing on the PVC pipe, and it is kind of accurate, I think. But yeah, well, this is a default, so a Zobo solar panel. I may at some point, possibly before this is released or after, I may go ahead and make my own solar panel just to have a better model, something that sits up a little higher. I got a different design in mind. But since we have a power box there on the side and we don't have solar panels or any off-grid, or, you know, any power on the grid out here, you know, we should probably put some solar panels out or something just to make it kind of realistic. And then again, I cannot confirm if there are actually solar panels here or not. I don't see any when I look at photos and aerial imagery, but, you know, who knows. In this empty spot right here, there is going to be another shed. I have not modeled it yet, so that is coming. So there's going to be another decent sized shed right here. And then we got our nice outhouse back here with the door closed. And yes, it is hollow on the inside. So you can look in here if you want, but, you know, I wouldn't recommend spending too much time in there for obvious reasons. But anyways, moving across the property here, we got our wood shelter, which is not yet been filled with wood. We got our nice pile over here, so somebody's been working on getting wood split, but they have not yet filled up the wood shelter. Now, this is the most recent model I've added, and it has been done 100% in Blender and painted in Substance Painter with 4K textures. So we got nice detail here on the ground, some scoring on the boards like they've been used. Roof material is the exact same as the cabin, and hey, you know, we even forgot to take some of the tags off of the end of the wood pieces. And, you know, just like in real life, we had to punch all the boards together with nails. So yeah, we took our virtual nail gun and, you know, created holes and even had a little bit of sloppiness just to give it that, yeah, we're throwing this together feeling. Over here is kind of the fire pit area. This is subject to change, but this is how I have it set up right now, with a picnic table from my library object assets that I have recently, I mean by recently, about a month ago, completely redid all the texturing on this, cleaned up the model. So this has been repainted in Substance Painter as well, with a nice layer of wear and tear. And then we have our fire pit, which I am working on redoing. The model is pretty much done as far as like cleaning it up and getting the textures how I want them. A little bit of texture tweaking to do, and I also want to make this so that this fire has basically two models. The model you're seeing right now, and then the other model would be, you know, a burning model where the fire has been lit, it's got coals and all that nice stuff in there. And ideally I want to have this set on a trigger. It's a sim object now, so I can add, environmental variables to it. And I'd like to have the fire come on, below a certain temperature, which, by the way, you can't see it right now because I somehow broke it again, but there should be smoke coming out of this chimney. And I'm going to do the same thing with that smoke, where it's going to come on under a certain temperature in the sim, just to give it that nice dynamic feel. Now, speaking of dynamic, we have a little bit more dynamic features to talk about. And let's reset our view here, and we'll take a little walk down our trail through the woods here, which leads out to the runway. And for this scenery, I wanted to add in some dynamic features, and this was always what I tried to do in FSX and P3D. So we now have, if I can find them, there we go. We now have butterflies out here. There are 4 different variations of butterflies. All of them are fully dynamic. So, and by fully dynamic, I mean that they only come out during the summer. So you're not going to see them flying around during the winter. You're not going to see them flying around when it's snowing. And ideally, you're not going to see them flying around while it's raining, which that is still on the to-do list, by the way. So right now they fly in the rain, but hopefully in the somewhat near future, they will not be flying around in the rain. So we can pop open our weather panel right here, and I'll try to keep some of the butterflies in view. And let's just tune our time back. So May, and then boom, we hit April. No more butterflies. So let's find one. Let's follow this guy here. So we're on May and April. He disappears. May, he pops back in. And these butterflies will run all the way until October, where they will pop out once again for the rest of the year, until we get back to the beginning of summer in May, and then the butterflies will pop back in. While we're right here, this windsock is brand new as well. I just got this done the other day. It has been a month-long struggle. If you're not keeping up with this project, you can check out the threads over at FS Developer, and over at the Microsoft Flight Simulator forums as well as on our own Discord, the Emerald Scenery Design Discord. I'll have all 3 of these links down in the description below, so you can follow, the project updates I give out on this. And as I mentioned in there, this is basically a month-long struggle of just trying to get the animations right for this windsock. So it is 100% oriented into the wind and changes dynamically. It has got, I think 5 different levels of animation. So basically no wind, 5 mile an hour, 10 mile an hour, 15 mile an hour, 20 and 20, so 6 levels animation, if you count the 0, which really, it is kind of animated. It moves a little bit, but it's not really like animated. I guess it is. It is animated. Let's just say that it's animated. It's simpler to say that. So yeah, if we can hit the right icon here, we can actually click on our weather. Let's go down here and we got a wind speed of 1 knot right now, coming out of south. So let's change our wind direction here to kind of the north, so that we're not blowing our airplane across the runway when we kick our wind speeds up high. And also, let's turn off follow mode, just in case our aircraft starts moving, our camera doesn't follow. So let's kick up the wind here. Let's go up just very gradually, and we'll see that the animations get interpolated between them, so there's not like a real sharp change in animation. We'll see that the windsock becomes a little bit more violent as the wind picks up, gets a little bit more turbulent, and then as the wind increases even farther to higher speeds, we'll notice that kind of smooths out as the airflow gets a little bit more linear. Obviously right here at 10 mile an hour, it's still whipping around quite good. But as we push her up to the max rating. We'll go to 25. We'll really notice that, you know, we're sailing the thing. She's not moving around a whole lot just because of the immense amount of air volume pushing through it. Just panning over for a second to check and make sure we're not losing our aircraft. So, yeah. Let's bring the winds back down, shall we? And we're going to go ahead and reset ourselves back to default settings for that weather preset. And, you know, while we're on the weather panel here, I guess we should talk about another feature in the scenery, another dynamic feature, and that is rain puddles. So, as we go to rain here and we change our weather settings to rain, we'll see that puddles have appeared randomly along the side of the runway. Now, these aren't going to be random per se. They are in fixed spots, so they'll be the same spots every time. But they only appear when it is raining. And although so far it seems like these rain puddles do kind of stay around as long as there's rain in the general area, I do want to kind of add into the coding to make them stick around for maybe about an hour after it stops raining, 45 minutes, an hour, just to kind of alleviate, those potentially popping in and popping out, while you're sitting here on the airstrip. So we'll see what we can do about that. I'm still very new to the XML sim variable and reverse polish notation side of coding, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it'll eventually be figured out. Let's just migrate on down here. And we'll see that the water puddles, they are reflective, and these are very basic puddles right now. So eventually I would like to get these, a little bit more, I don't say, realistic looking. I don't know. I don't know exactly what I want to do with them yet, but I will eventually probably, do a little bit of revision on them. Ideally, I'd like to get some motion in them. It's like, they're not going to be smooth like this when water's hitting them. But, how do you go about doing that when, the ability to do that's not really in place? So, yeah, I got to get creative on that. And that'll be coming later on down the road. Definitely not before release. But, yeah. And you know what? I should probably mention, too, all of these features, everything you're seeing. So these water puddles, the windsock, the butterflies, even like that, the wood shelter model over there, these trees, all this vegetation right here, the flowers, these are all part of my object libraries, Emerald Object Library. These are available for freeware developers to use. So if you are a freeware developer and you're releasing freeware, if you want to use any of these assets in your scenery, feel free. You can go over, check out Emerald Object Library on flightsim.to or emeraldscenerydesign.com. Just read through the README. I got a couple terms in there. I'm really pretty much lax on the terms. It's just basic stuff like, don't decompile it. And make sure you have, your end users download from the source and don't include the files, in your own package. And that's not, me being hard, but that's me thinking through and trying to prevent conflict. Whereas, if you have multiple models with the same GIDs and stuff, getting a little technical here, by the way, yeah, you're going to run into conflicts eventually. So that's the only reason I really have those, in place. But you know what? I'm getting tired of getting rained on here, and we've made our point with the water puddles. So if we can click on the right window again. Let's go back. My scroll wheel will work. Let's go back to the spheric preset. And, this isn't something I put in, but something kind of cool I noticed. That after it's been raining for a while, you notice that the ground textures dynamically get dark. And like I said, this isn't anything I'm doing. This is just, Microsoft Flight Simulator doing its thing. So it's kind of a nice little touch, that it gets darker along the edges of the runway. And as we can see, it's slowly fading back to its normal texture. And it's not just the runway, it's the grass too. Everything kind of gets darker. So that's kind of, you know, a nice little feature. Alright, I'm trying to think of what else to show you guys. The main features we've kind of hit on. As I mentioned, the trees are completely 3D. So nice little volumetric, you know, effects on them. All these bushes are originally brought over from my Shump and Chunilna scenery from FSX and P3D. However, I have redone them. Their poly count is a lot higher. They are more 3D instead of cross-plane, which, I mean, technically they're still considered cross-plane, but it's just kind of a low poly 3D rendition because they're off to the side. You know, you're not going to be staring at them, you know, from the top down like this all the time. Except, you know, maybe when you're landing or something. So it kind of helps with performance, you know, keeping them a little low poly since there's a ton of them throughout the trees here. But, you know, from the side they look really good. And then we have kind of our cut down area here, and there are lots of fallen trees out here, you know, throughout the bushes. And on the other end of the runway, I'm going to be adding some of these down trees as well, going down the hill. I just haven't gotten around to that part yet. That'll be probably one of the last things I do, just because it's such a simple task. And as I said, I have, you know, several more models to focus on at this very moment. Yeah, so we got a little bit more clutter placement to do around the runway. I got some like sticks and stuff I want to place, and you know, I got some rocks, some more rocks I want to shove out here, which you can kind of see the rock models over by the cabin, which is where I have them placed right now. I just don't have any of these models around the runway, and they are a lot nicer models than what the default models are. So here's one here in the ground. There's a couple more over here. So they're really nice models. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much what I've been working on here for, well, this has been several months now in the making. Like I said, I don't remember when I got those photos. I started on this project right around the time I got those photos. So yeah, it's not been, you know, quite a full year yet, I don't believe. But we are several months into this now, and you know, it's this last basically month, 2 months, I've been hanging out with a couple of guys over at GotGravel, Microed, and 270 Inc. You may know 270 Inc. from, you know, doing some nice painting jobs on some aircraft over at the flightsim.to. But I've been hanging out with those guys, you know, playing a million questions with them, trying to learn Blender, trying to learn Substance, just to make this airport, you know, make this airstrip. And we're so close. We're getting so close to release of this airstrip. You know, I don't want to put a date on it yet, but you know, we're probably within a month, maybe 2 months of release. It depends on, you know, how long the actual release takes, you know, getting this over on the Flight Sim marketplace, and then, you know, getting it on the other stores and stuff. And then, yeah, just, you know, however long polishing takes, and especially the sim update that's coming up, as long as nothing big gets broken in that, you know, we should probably be pretty good to go. So, yeah, guys, definitely, if you're interested in stuff like this, you know, keep an eye on those threads that I post down below. You know, definitely be doing more projects like this in the future. And yeah, if you're interested in this kind of stuff and you want to see more of this, you know, kind of the back end of actually working on these projects, which I'll give you a little warning, it can be a little boring at times. If you want to see that, take a look at the 2 hour, something like 2 hour live stream I did a couple months back, actually on this airstrip, placing the trees and stuff. So you can see how boring it can be at times. But yeah, if you want to see more stuff like this, let me know down in the comments, and I'll try to work some more videos in like this, you know, some more actually development and creation videos. And as always, you know, I'm still going to be doing tutorials here and there, and I'm hoping to get back into doing some actual, like, flight videos, not just focused on scenery design, but actually going out and having a good time in aircraft and flying the simulator like it's intended, and sometimes not intended, to be flown. But I know this has been kind of a long video, but hopefully it kept your attention. Hopefully it kind of gives you something to look forward to. You know, if not this project, you know, look forward to some of my upcoming projects, because they're going to be getting the same treatment with the same attention to detail. And, as always, improving as time goes on. So, anyways, guys, thanks for joining me. As always, have a great rest of your day. Like the video, leave me a comment down below, and let's get up to 500 subscribers. I haven't asked for a subscription in a while, so hit that subscribe button if you like what I'm doing here. And let's get up to 500. As always, guys, Roadnut 44, over and out.